The passing of Daymond Wilson has created a quiet pause across television history and among those who grew up watching him on screen. For decades, his presence felt steady and familiar, even during years when he stepped away from the spotlight. His death has not brought shock alone, but reflection. Reflection on a life that touched entertainment, faith, family, and service. Today, we will share what is known today about Daymond Wilson's funeral details, along with a closer look at the life and legacy he leaves behind. Daymond Wilson passed away on January 30th, 2026, at the age of 79. He died at his home in Palm Springs, California. His family confirmed that the cause of death was complications related to cancer. While the specific type of cancer was not publicly disclosed, and the family made it clear that there were no unusual or suspicious circumstances surrounding his passing. In a brief public statement, Wilson's son described his father as a great man who was deeply loved. That short message reflected how many people are responding to the news. Not with loud reactions or controversy, but with quiet respect for a man whose career and personal choices were marked by consistency. Daymond Wilson was born Grady Daymond Wilson in Valdosta, Georgia. His early life did not point toward fame or Hollywood success. His family later moved to New York City, where his environment and opportunities changed significantly. It was there that his talent for performance began to develop at a very young age. As a child, Wilson appeared on Broadway, entering professional performance before most children understand what responsibility means. By the age of 12, he was performing at Harlem's Apollo Theater, one of the most respected stages in American entertainment. These experiences required discipline, focus, and maturity, qualities that stayed with him throughout his life. Alongside performance, faith played a steady role in his upbringing. Raised Catholic, Wilson served as an altar boy and at one point considered becoming a priest. Summers spent with his Pentecostal grandmother added another spiritual influence. Religion was not a later addition to his life. It was present from the beginning. At 13 years old, Wilson faced a serious medical crisis when his appendix ruptured. He became critically ill, and the experience left a lasting mark on him. According to accounts from his life, he made a private promise during that time to serve God if he survived. That promise would later guide one of the most important decisions of his life. Before fame fully arrived, Wilson chose to serve his country. From 1966 to 1968, he served in the United States Army during the Vietnam War as part of the 4th Infantry Division. He was wounded in combat and later received the Purple Heart. This chapter of his life was rarely placed at the center of interviews, but those close to him said it deeply shaped his character. Military service brought structure, humility, and perspective. It reinforced values of discipline and accountability that later appeared in his work, his faith, and his family life. After returning home, Wilson resumed acting. He worked steadily in theater, including Broadway and off-Broadway productions, before transitioning into television and film. His early screen roles included guest appearances on established shows, slowly building credibility rather than instant fame. Everything changed in 1972 when Wilson was cast as Lamont Sanford on the NBC sitcom Sanford and Son. The show quickly became one of the most successful and influential sitcoms of its era. It presented working-class life with honesty and humor, connecting strongly with audiences. Wilson's portrayal of Lamont Sanford became essential to the show's success. Lamont was calm, responsible, and grounded, often managing his father's unpredictable behavior. Played opposite Red Fox's loud and impulsive Fred Sanford, Wilson's restraint created balance. What made Lamont Sanford memorable was realism. And he did not rely on exaggerated reactions. He reflected patience, frustration, loyalty, and quiet strength. Many viewers saw themselves in him, especially those who carried responsibility within their families. Behind the scenes, the experience was not always smooth. In 1974, contract disputes led Red Fox to temporarily leave the show. During that time, Wilson carried the series as its lead. He succeeded, proving his strength and reliability as an actor. When Fox returned, the partnership continued until Sanford and Son ended in 1977. In later years, Wilson spoke honestly about the challenges of that period. He acknowledged love, forgiveness, and lingering disappointment while remaining respectful of Fox's legacy and their shared impact on television history. Even decades later, and Sanford and Son remains widely viewed through reruns and streaming platforms. New generations continue to discover it, while longtime viewers return to it with familiarity and nostalgia. Wilson's performance remains a defining example of grounded television comedy. After the show ended, Wilson continued working in television. He starred in Baby Da, I'm Back, and later in The New Odd Couple, taking on different roles and formats. While these projects were short-lived, they demonstrated his versatility and professionalism. He also appeared in films and made guest appearances on various television programs. Throughout this period, Wilson maintained a steady career rather than chasing trends or visibility. By the mid-1980s, Wilson made a decision that changed his life's direction. In 1984, he became an ordained minister in the Church of God in Christ. This was not a temporary retreat from entertainment. It was a full commitment to ministry and faith-based work. He stepped away from mainstream Hollywood and devoted himself to preaching, teaching, and spiritual leadership. Fame no longer defined him. Purpose did. Wilson traveled extensively, spoke publicly, and appeared on religious programs. He focused on responsibility, discipline, and faith, living out the promise he had made as a child. He also became an author, writing books centered on Christian belief and moral responsibility. His memoir, Second Banana, offered a candid look at his years on Sanford and Son. Rather than glorifying success, it addressed pressure, conflict, and personal growth with honesty. In his personal life, Wilson married Cicely Johnston in 1974. And their marriage lasted more than 50 years, a rare achievement in any field. Together, they raised 6 children. Wilson kept his family life private and avoided public exposure for his children. Those close to him described him as a devoted husband and father who valued order, faith, and responsibility. Family was not secondary to his work. It was central. Following his death, public attention naturally turned to funeral and burial details. As of today, the family has chosen to keep arrangements private. No public funeral service has been announced. No official burial location has been disclosed. This approach aligns closely with how Wilson lived his later years. He avoided spectacle and preferred reflection over attention. Many believe any service held will be private and family-centered. As details become available, they will be shared through appropriate channels. Until then, remembrance has focused not on ceremony, but on the life he lived. Daymond Wilson's legacy does not depend on the size of a service or the number of famous attendees. His impact was secured through decades of work, service, and quiet discipline. He is remembered as an actor who helped define an era of television, a veteran who served his country, a minister who chose faith over fame, and a man who lived with purpose. As funeral plans move forward privately, Daymond Wilson's final goodbye is being shaped not by spectacle, but by respect. His journey has ended, but the influence of his choices, his work, and his values remains firmly in place.